Welcome, Skye, to the podcast. I'm so excited for this episode. We're going to be talking all about non-toxic living, and you're just so embodied in this, and that's why it just felt so incredible to get you on. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good and I'm really excited to be here and just have this conversation because I think it's something that can just get so missed.
Definitely. I would love to begin if you could share with us a little self-love ritual that you lean on maybe every day just to keep you in that energy of self-love.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been doing my daily rituals. I have like little bits and pieces that I do every single day, but I am now 2 years into being a mama, so it's changed and it always is changing. And I just have had to learn to like surrender and accept that every day it's going to look different. But I love my journaling. That is like a way of me being able to get how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, all my emotions onto paper. And when I can see it, it's like there's nothing else in between and I can see it so clearly. So for me, that is like self-love. Like I love that. It makes me feel so good. And it's a really grounding practice for me. So journaling would be my number one. There's not really a day that goes by that I don't do it, even if it's just a little gratitude practice. It's so helpful for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that. I'm a big journaler as well. And I remember I used to like make up the stories in my head of like, I'm just not someone who can journal because
Yeah.
I had all these expectations of like, you have to do it a certain way. But really, it is just like pouring whatever is clouding your mind onto a piece of paper, being able to see it and going, oh my goodness, that's actually how I'm feeling today. Then you can like move through the day with much more self-awareness of what could be going on.
Absolutely. And I feel like it just like when you don't write it down, like when you don't get pen to paper, it can just be sitting in your mind and you've got all of these things racing around or clouding it. And it's like, what is actually going on? Let me get it onto paper. And it's just like a clear line, like, okay, that's what's happening. That's what I need to get done or whatnot. So yeah, super helpful for me.
I love that so much. And it's such like a powerful tool as well. Like you said, being a mum and, like 2 years into being a mum, you're still learning so much about yourself. And so like being able to be in that state of reflection, even if it's just a couple of minutes a day, would just be so beneficial for like your relationship with your child as well. So love that so much.
Yeah.
I would love to get into speaking about like your journey to living non-toxic. I know that I think you've spoken, maybe it was when we were chatting back and forth in DMs, but that becoming a mum is what really allowed you to like want to go fully non-toxic. So yeah, I would love to hear your journey with non-toxic living.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the initial, I guess, like driving force of what actually like landed me in creating a low tox lifestyle for my family. But the journey actually started so much longer before that. I was living a very, very toxic lifestyle. And it's interesting because the toxic lifestyle that I was living was actually quite a normal lifestyle, like what people would see as normal these days. And that's okay because it's what we're marketed to, it's what we're conditioned to think is normal. But I was living with so many different health issues that were day to day and are now seen as normal. I was like, irregular periods, like my bleed was very, very heavy, very uncomfortable, lots of cramping, lots of pain. I was getting headaches every single day. I was constantly sick. I was suffering from really bad thrush like all the time, every month. Um, so many different things that just like I lived with them for so long. And I got to a point where a few other things had changed in my life. Friendships had dissolved, and I was beginning to um, step away from other toxic areas in my life and beginning to really go on my own path. And I was actually working in a beauty studio at the time as a lash and brow technician, which by the way is very highly toxic job. I was working with like so many chemicals every single day, and I actually started to get really severe skin issues. I was breaking out in eczema all around my eyes, on the inners of my arms, and I I just came to this point where I was like, this isn't normal. Like, how I'm living is incredibly uncomfortable. Although I was going through my day-to-day life, I was, still exercising, and I was eating pretty generally healthy at that stage of my life. There was so many other things in my life that I was doing that led to a severe toxic overload in my body. And it got me to that point where I just had to ask myself, like, and tell myself, like, this isn't okay. I need to make changes, and I need to actually start looking deeper into what the root cause of these are. I was going to the doctors like every month, if not every other, to get something for my thrush. And there was never, ever like, a solution or looking deeper at the root cause. And so I had to do that on my own. I should rephrase that. I didn't have to do that on my own, but I did go out and do that on my own. And I started just looking. And then when I lost my job because the world went mad, that really sent me into looking at all the areas in my life and going, okay, like, what's the kind of life that I want to live? I didn't want to keep going on with all of these health issues, so I knew things needed to change. So I started looking into low tox, and the first thing that I did, I'd actually ditched perfume, which I had no idea why I did it, and I had really no knowledge around it. I just knew that every time I was wearing it, and I was wearing it a lot, I was getting a itchy, scratchy throat and a headache. And I was like, this is like not right. Something's not right. So I ditched perfume, and that disappeared. And I felt really good for ditching perfume, but again, had no idea why. So I then started looking into it. I actually started following a couple of girls on Instagram that were chatting about this low tox life. And I was like, what is this? Like, I feel like I didn't actually even know that I was like overloaded with toxins, but I was, and I intuitively knew that. But and so I was like really drawn towards these girls, and I was listening to them and watching what they were doing, and listening to them talking about how they were low toxing their home. And my partner Ty and I had just sort of started talking about that we were welcoming in a baby at some stage soon. And so we were, there was all these things happening in our life, and we were, I guess, trying to, be our healthiest version of ourselves and start taking steps towards like creating the life that we actually wanted to be living. And because we lost our jobs, it was like it pushed us into that. So I was following along with the girls, and I was like, yes, I really like this. And I was at the time doing my yoga teacher training, and I got myself a box of oils. I was like, this looks like what I need. There was like oils for breathwork and meditation and yoga, and I wanted to use them alongside all of my practices, my daily practices. And so I started doing that. And then the deeper I started using the oils, the essential oils, I then started learning more and more and more. And I was like, okay, this is a whole lifestyle change for us. And the things that we were using in our home, I did think they were safe, and I did think they were healthy for us to be using, just our everyday products that we'd buy from the supermarket. And they weren't. And so I started using the oils. Then I started like delving into all of the low tox things, and I started making my own DIYs, making my own cleaning products, all that kind of stuff. Fell pregnant with our son Oki, and that was like for me the like drawing card of like, okay, everything's got to go. I'm making these changes. I did it slowly. I did it over probably more than a few months, of just like throwing out things here and there and replacing them with healthy ones. So yeah, that's like a little bit of the journey. I mean, there's so much, but that's really what threw me into it. And the last thing was just falling pregnant with Oki and learning about how many chemicals are found in the umbilical cord when a baby is born. And, that's obviously their life force. So that just made my decision. And I was like, no, things have got to change. And yeah, they did. And it's been amazing ever since.
That's such a powerful and relatable story for you to get to non-toxic living, because I feel like intuitively we are always shown that certain things don't serve us. For example, perfume. Like, that's something for me that my whole life I've never liked. And like, if I would get gifted it, I would just be like, I'm not wearing it because I get like the funny eyes, headaches, all the things. And it's like even prior to understanding the harmful effects of fragrances, my body was rejecting it. And a lot of the time you hear that in people who begin to step into non-toxic, they're like, "Oh my gosh, my body's been trying to tell me this the whole time." Like, even as a kid, like sun cream, I would like run off. I did not want it. And it's like that was my like intuition at such a young age trying to say like, "No, no, no, that like chemicals and fragrances and all the things in this are not good for you." So I really love that. It's just such a relatable story that you have just like shared into getting led into it. And it's so powerful as well that you guys, I feel like through the whole like pandemic, that really threw everyone onto their path if they weren't already on it. And being able to use that as like an empowering tool for you guys to actually better yourselves is just so incredible.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it was such a wild time. Like I think back to it and I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone, like it was so big. And yeah, as I said, like threw us into so many things and just such an epic path, and like so incredibly grateful for it, which I know that it hasn't been like that for everybody, but yeah, absolutely. So cool.
Yeah. And what would you say that you have like recognized now that you've, fully dived deep into non-toxic? What do you think you've like kind of recognized in your own health and your lifestyle by choosing non-toxic, by being so embodied in it? It feels like watching you on Instagram, you're just so it's just your lifestyle. It's like I couldn't even obviously I've only like been following you for probably like a year, but it's like I couldn't even imagine like watching you now what you would be like non-toxic sorry, with like toxic things around you because I'm like, you're just so embodied in it. So I would love to hear because you would have definitely noticed huge shifts.
Absolutely. And it truly does for both my partner Ty and I. It feels like another life. Like the stuff that we used to do. Like I and no judgment if people do still do this, but I used to get my lips filled and I had Botox in my head. And when I learned about those, like how incredibly toxic and terrible for our health that is, it just really shook me. And now to look back on that, I feel like I'm in another world. I feel like I'm in, like I've just like it's so different. And I guess that's, there's so much beauty in change, and like it's so cool to know that you can change, like just because we've been conditioned or like we've been told that this is the way we need to be, or this is what we need to do to be this certain, whatever it is, like we can change, we can radically change our life. We just have to find that belief in ourselves. Hey.
Mm.
um but yeah, what I can't even remember what, so I just gone off on a total tangent.
No, it's completely fine. That is me every day. I was just asking, like, what have you recognized in your health?
Yeah, now I remember. Oh, so much. Like I think the biggest thing, aside all the health issues that now are no longer here, and the day-to-day things that I lived with, I think it's just the like energy and vitality in life that I have. Like I would have to have a nap every afternoon. When I used to get home from work, I would nap every day. And I was constantly fatigued, constantly feeling tired. Like, and I don't have that anymore. I feel good. Like I think that, like, and I didn't even realize at that time that I wasn't feeling good. I didn't realize because I'd lived with it for so long, and I know so many of us do this. We just keep going day to day and we accept and okay that whatever it is, the things that aren't, in alignment with us or aren't feeling actually really good, we accept that and we just keep going. And then we live with it for so long that we actually feel like it's normal. And I did that. So that's been the biggest thing for me, is just actually noticing like, oh shit, I was actually feeling real crap.
Yeah.
I was down in the dumps with everything as well, mindset, emotions, everything was being affected, not solely because of the just the toxic like synthetic fragrances and chemicals and stuff I was using, but it was an overall thing. The people that I had in my life, the interactions that I was having, like it was big. And to take that path, and you would know this as well, like to take that path and step away from all of the things that you've known or that you've been, is so big. It's
Mm,
so big, and it takes a lot of work, and it's hard, but it's
mm.
so worth it, because life is, there's so much more to life than it just being okay.
Yeah, and it's a huge identity shift, right? Like, everyone knows you as a certain person, as doing a certain thing. We're such habitual creatures that when there is change, it really does rock the boat for a lot of people in your life. And you even speaking into that, it really sounds like you choosing non-toxic elevated your frequency so much. Like, because it's really is a frequency thing, like you're using low frequency, like artificial fragrances, all these things. So then that's naturally making your energy low, which is naturally making your frequency low. And it's just such a, yeah, like ripple effect when we begin to choose that higher frequency. Are there any, I know like you are a big, like oily queen, you just like love your oils, your young living. Are there any that in particular do like raise your frequency? Like I know they're all pretty high vibed, but if you are ever sort of falling back in that like, oh, I'm feeling fatigued or whatever it may be, are there any that you would recommend?
Yeah, totally. And this is where the quality of the essential oil really comes into play. So you could use, maybe somebody who's listening has used an essential oil before and it hasn't worked as such, and they haven't felt any therapeutic benefit from it. This is because the essential oil industry is completely unregulated, which essentially means that anyone can make an essential oil and pop it on the shelves and label it as natural, pure, and organic, even when it's not. So when you're using those essential oils, you're actually going to be lowering your frequency because they have been filled with synthetic fillers. Maybe the crops and the harvests have been sprayed with pesticides and weed killers. There's so many corners that get cut. And this is why I always love to touch on how important it is with what essential oils you are using. So I personally use Young Living. I did lots of research into all different companies, and that was just what aligned with me the most. And one huge reason was because of the frequency of them.
Mm.
So the healthy like a healthy human body will sit at a frequency of like, I think it's like 68 to 72 megahertz or something like that. And so there's one particular oil, all of Young Living oils are very high frequency, but there's one particular oil called Idaho Blue Spruce, and the last test that was done on it, it would be more by now, but there hasn't been a super recent test done on it, was 580 megahertz. So
Wow.
like, so if you're thinking, healthy human body is 68 megahertz, and then you're using an oil that's 580 megahertz, and it's grown in the most like beautiful organic raw farm with no pesticides. It's all been hand weeded. Like the farmers, they even actually speak love over the seeds before they're planted, which I'm like, oh, I love it so much. I love this
Yeah,
stuff.
I froth that so much.
Oh, I just think it's so epic. Like, what the heck? And that takes so much longer. It takes so much more time. Like, but it's just, you can feel it. When you're using the oils, like you can just feel it. So yes, there are so many oils that I use every single day to raise my frequency. And something that I love to do as well is when I have an oil, I attach it to a habit. And I think this is really, it's really, really beautiful because we live in such a fast-paced world where we're always like run, got to get here, got to do this, all the things.
Yeah.
To actually have something, and you can even do this even if you don't have essential oils. So for example, like whenever I use frankincense, which is a beautiful oil that's been used for thousands and thousands of years by humans for grounding and lots of spiritual rituals and practices. Whenever I use that, I use one drop on the crown of my head, and it soaks down through the cranial sutures and actually directly affects your brain, raising the frequency of your body. But whenever I use that, I always sit in stillness and just take a few deep box breaths. And it's like, that's my habit that I attach to that. And that forces me to slow down. I know when I'm using that oil, I stop and I breathe.
Mm.
And you could do this without oils as well. For example, when you put the kettle on in the morning for your coffee or your cacao, whatever it is, you could stop and do some breathing. Like you can attach those little new habits to your old habits. And that's been a way that I've really, really built my daily practices, is just like, it doesn't have to be a huge long thing and a big ritual every day. Anyways, again, going off on
No,
a
I
tangent.
love that so much because
Yeah.
a lot of the time we, it is such a masculine society, and especially for women, it can feel extra overwhelming to implement these little nuggets of like self-love into our
Mm.
day, because there's already so much that we are conditioned that we have to do or that we have to show up for. So, and even I love that you mix like an oil with a habit, because as well as just the power of the oil you're using, like our brain, every time you would smell that, say you like went into a store and they were like diffusing frankincense, it would instantly make you go, oh, I need to take a breath. So that is just
100%.
so powerful, that little habit. And I love that so much. It's like compounding little things together so that, turning on the kettle doesn't just feel as plain and simple as, oh shit, I got to turn the kettle on. It's like turning on the kettle and taking a deep breath. I really love that.
Absolutely. It's all those little 1% things, like it's, and they add up, and it's so important. Yeah, and it just starts slowing down like far out.
I know.
As you said, we're so conditioned to just run and run and be in a line, like be, live and match that masculine energy. And of course it's beautiful to have both, but yeah, slowing down is just like, oh, so good.
Definitely. I would love to hear, you mentioned like just before about your cycle being quite like not enjoyable for you prior to being non-toxic. How do you feel that being non-toxic has supported your cycle, and, using oils throughout each phase of your cycle? How does this kind of look for you now?
Yeah, so as I said, I had really heavy, hard periods. I even went months and months without getting a period. And I just, at that stage in my life, to be completely honest, I had absolutely no education around my cycle, nothing, which so many of us don't, and that's okay. We've got so many, amazing like yourself resources and beautiful people that can guide us in those areas. But I actually was stoked when I didn't have my bleed for like, there was like one time when it was 10 months. I was living away overseas. I was partying. I was doing all the things that are absolutely terrible for your health. And I was stoked because I didn't get a bleed. I rejected it. I hated it. I didn't know anything about it. I had no connection with that part of my body. And it's still a work in progress. Absolutely. It's still a work in progress. But from where I was and to where I am now, like so much has changed for me in that area. I no longer have any pain. It's just like a release, and it's like no nothing. It's beautiful, and I have a completely regular bleed now, and that has been very very soon after I started detoxing and reducing my toxic load. That happened for me. And it was sort of over a period of time where it was, like quite different every month. And then sometimes I'd have, a bit random, but now it's very consistent. And I believe that just being more in tune with my body as well has just helped me so much with knowing when all the things are happening during the month. And I mean, for me, during particular phases of my cycle, actually using certain oils, there's not certain oils that I use during each cycle because I'm so consistent with my oils and I use them every single day to support me in all the things. I support my hormones, my emotions, all of the things. I just have a consistent practice with my oils. So during particular phases, I don't think that I have any like real structure with what I use for what, but definitely there are oils to use depending on how you're feeling and how you want to feel or what you're looking for. So I actually use, because I just love like when I'm bleeding to have like that real warm, comforting feeling over my womb space. There's an oil called Panaway, and it's like a nature's deep heat. So it literally has the same smell as deep heat, and it brings a warming sensation. So I love to use that over my womb space. It's like the best. Can either use it directly or have it in like a little womb roller. We have this awesome moon phase, I think it's called, roller, like in one of our communities, and it's like just so beautiful. It's like got clary sage, ylang ylang, like all these super like feminine, lovely like oils that just help you to really connect to that space. So yeah, no like real particular oils because my practice is so consistent, but definitely there are different oils that you can use to support you through all of those phases during your cycle for sure.
Perfect. And it really sounds like, firstly, we love a consistent queen. We love that. But it really sounds like your journey has been kind of as well connecting, like your journey to non-toxic has also connected you to your feminine energy, which in turn has allowed your bleed to be such a feminine time for you, or, you've been able to surrender to your life. So it makes sense that you don't even have the structure around that. It's very, you're just in flow with life by the sounds of it,
Mm,
which is just so perfect. And I desire for this to be the way that like women begin to, witness life is being much more in flow in that way.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I realized we didn't even speak into, so like, sorry to anyone listening if you don't even understand what like fragrance is or like
Oh,
anything like that. But I would love to have a little conversation and hear like what is fragrance. I know something I want to add is I was using for years, I'm not going to name the brand, but I was using a brand that says that they're like non-toxic, eco-friendly, all the things, right? And then I thought, I think I maybe saw something on social media or something, and I realized that this brand that I was investing in, thinking that I was living non-toxic, actually had fragrances in it. And
oh
that
no.
frustrated me so much, and now I just have started making my own products, which is in itself so beautiful because you can put intentions into it. But, I would love to just have a bit of a chat around that, like, what even is fragrance? Like,
Oh, I remember like when I first learned about this, like I was mad. It still makes me mad. I'm like, how the F are they allowed to sell these things on the shelves? Like it just makes me so angry. So this is where I like get real. um, yeah, so fragrance it's a synthetic chemical. It's made in a lab, it's created in a lab, it's created by man. And the difference between that and an essential oil is essential oils come from plants. They're literally the lifeblood, the life sweat of a plant. And so a fragrance is something that is chemically made, chemical compounds all put together. They can create whatever scent they want. So often you'll see like a body wash or a conditioner or whatever it is that you're buying from the supermarket, makeup, beauty care, anything like that, you'll often see that it says like infused with lavender or infused with ylang ylang or something like that. And this is where the companies use marketing tactics to make you believe that something is that it is something that it's not. So
mm,
they make you believe, as you said, like it's eco-friendly, it is safe, natural, non-toxic, all the things, when it actually has fragrance in it. So often if you turn around, and I urge you to go and do this, if you're listening to this, driving, whatever, go home and turn the bottles around of the things that you have in your bathroom, in your kitchen, in your beauty cabinet, in your wellness cabinet, whatever it is, turn them around and have a look at the ingredients. And I can guarantee you that if you've bought it from the shop, the chemist, the health food store, even if even if it says it's organic, like 9 times out of 10, it's not. It will have the word fragrance or perfume.
mm,
And under those two words, they are allowed to hide up to 3,000 different chemicals. So as long as they've listed one of those two words, it is okay. They're allowed to sell it as safe. They're allowed to sell it as whatever it is, whatever they've put on the front of the bottle to make you think that it's okay for your family to be using. Um, it's it's really scary. It's sad that this is happening. And the reason that they do it is because it's cheaper. They're not going to put pure essential oils into products because it is expensive to get pure essential oils. They come from raw material. It's a lot cheaper to make something in a lab. And so when a product has fragrance in it, Like, you know, it might smell nice, and it might, you know, the aroma's good, whatever you think, like it's safe for you. When there's a fragrance in there, it's not just fragrance, it's like it's so many other things. And those chemicals is what leads to so many different health issues, and not even just right now health issues, it's decades down the track health issues. You know, so many body washes, so many beauty products, hair care, all the things, so many of them hold carcinogens, which are cancer causing chemicals, like, and that is allowed. So what you can do to like move forward is to just be really vigilant and like turn your products around, start learning about what's in them, start actually asking yourself, what kind of life do I want to live, what how do I want my health to look in a year's time, how do I want my health to look in 10 years time, and then start making those informed decisions with like, oh, okay, this has got fragrance in it, which does actually mean it's got probably hundreds of other chemicals in it. They're incredibly bad for my health. So you can start making changes over to low tox products, and there are low tox options out there. You know, it's not everyone's fooling you. There absolutely are low tox options, but if you can find something without fragrance, like, absolutely. Also, you've got to be very aware of lots of other chemicals that are labeled on the bottle, but fragrance is like a number one. It's not safe for you to be using.
Yeah. And I think it's really powerful that, you know, if you just begin with looking for the fragrance and the perfume, then you can then go deeper. Don't overwhelm yourself with, you know, looking at every ingredient and thinking, oh my goodness, like what is toxic, what isn't. Always taking one step at a time. And earlier in the episode, you also mentioned that when you went no tox, you did it slowly. And I think that's also a really important thing that I want to bring back to the awareness of the listeners is you don't need to listen to this, freak yourself out, get overwhelmed, and then run off and throw everything out, spend bucket loads of money on replacing it, and then feeling like, you know, replacing it with things that you may not even enjoy. It's really is the process of having that awareness and now moving forward, being able to make more conscious decisions for your health.
Absolutely.
Also, I would just want to ask, because this may be something that, you know, people may have in their mind, is when a product is listed with natural fragrance, is that also fragrance or is that essential oil?
It's also fragrance.
Mm.
It's another loophole that they can use, basically just tacking on the natural word to make you believe that it's something that it's not again. So yeah, the word fragrance, it's dangerous, and it pays to look into it and to, as you said, just understand what you're actually putting on your body, and just start with like, okay, you know, there's so many things that us, particularly as women, use every single day. You know, body wash, deodorant, like all the things that we put on before, say, 9 a.m. in the morning, like there can be thousands of chemicals that we're actually putting onto our body.
Yeah.
And there can be just small things that you can reduce, like that you can get rid of straight away, like perfume. Perfume's number one thing that I always say to people. I'm like, you can just ditch that. Like that it can go. It's incredibly disrupting to your hormones. It's like the number one thing. We're spraying it directly on our thyroid. So there's small things that you can do like that without having to like throw something out and then replace it. Like you can just do small things. And I think just gaining that actual just knowledge and just having a little bit more awareness around what you're actually using is really, really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And, you know, investing in a high quality oil to use as a perfume and like having a carrier oil with that to also make it go even further, which you will let everyone know where they can find you, and then they can go and like find all the tools and tips and tricks that they need. But, you know, just like even doing that swap, you will notice such a huge difference. Like, and I actually say that with confidence to everyone listening, because whether you've had the awareness of it before or you haven't, once you do begin to see, oh my gosh, like we are marketed like actual chemicals, you know, our whole lymphatic system from these, and you know, I'm no professional in this, please don't take this as like medical advice, anyone listening, but I know that like even since I've stopped washing my hair with chemicals, and I just use like, apple cider vinegar and like just essential oils. Only use like completely natural Castile soap, all the things. Even I used to deal with, and like I'm literally 24, so I shouldn't even be dealing with this, but like you said, where it's so normalized, even though it should not be normal, and it is not fucking normal. I used to get like all these lumps all through my neck in my lymphs, and had the
Oh,
test done, everything, right? And the doctors are just like, oh, it's a little bit funny, but it's benign, it's not cancerous, so there's
oh
nothing we
my
can do, blah blah blah.
gosh.
And it's like I very rarely will have that now. And it's, when I'm ill, maybe of course our lymphs like flare up, but swapping out my deodorant to using just a magnesium based deodorant, no aluminium, things like that, it has just created so much more well-being and heightened my frequency so much. Um, yeah, it's
Totally.
just so powerful. And, this is like, it's such a huge thing for women to be dealing with irregular periods, painful periods, so normalized everywhere. It's like, just take a Panadol, just suppress how you're actually feeling. But when we begin to look at actually what we are being marketed and what actually the harmful effects of everything out there, it's like, I don't want anyone listening to lean into like being so afraid of life, but just having that
Mm,
conscious awareness, we can actually create take that self responsibility and create that change in our bodies to feel so liberated in ourselves.
totally. Yeah. Just bringing the light to it, just having,
Yeah.
that understanding and just being like, okay, I can actually move forward with different decisions and different ways of living.
Mm.
And you think like there's you build up this toxic overload in your body of all the things that you're using every single day, or that even if you're not using so many things every single day, but there's things in your home, like air fresheners or like those reed diffuser things, or cleaning products or whatever, like, and you're breathing that in, it creates that toxic overload in your body, and that either it will sit stagnant in your body and manifest into some kind of illness or disease or health issue, or it will come out. Like I've seen like detoxes happening, and like literally it's coming from the skin. It's like
Yeah.
that stuff doesn't want to be in your body. Like it needs to be out. Your body doesn't want it. um yeah. So wild.
It is, it's so crazy. And we're just like, from little girls, it's like we are, here's your first bottle of perfume, or here's like
My
those
gosh.
like gross, like, I mean, no shame to anyone if you still use them, but like, just like those body sprays that you can get from
Yeah.
like, Mecca, and even makeup. Like there's just so many avenues that we are just conditioned to, you're such a good girl, here's a toxic like thing to
uh,
ruin your health.
and
But
and like that's literally it's marketed to us to make us more feminine.
mm,
And it's actually just causing complete havoc on our hormones, like, which
yeah.
is making us less, like, it's so backwards.
It's disconnecting us so deeply from our feminine
Yeah.
energy, but it's
Yeah.
marketed to us in a way of, you're more feminine, like you just said. So it's just a whole thing. But
The
you have
whole thing.
so much wisdom around this topic, and that's why I really wanted to get you on. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I feel like everyone's going to get so much out of this, and it was such like a beautiful conversation, not too overwhelming, I don't feel. But like, what can you just give us, what is your all-time favorite oil?
That is honestly the hardest question ever. Because as I said, I use so many different oils for so many different things. There is an oil for everything. And oh,
Top
I
three.
would okay, a top three. All right, that's way better. All right, I'd probably go with frankincense. It's just such a beautiful grounding oil. It's very, very amazing for supporting your emotions. It's also an incredible wellness boosting oil, so helping to boost your immune system, all those kind of things. Then, I'd probably go. There's an oil called Stress Away, so it's actually a blend. So it's like copahiba, vanilla, lime, lavender. There's another oil in there, but I can't remember what it is right now. And it's just a really beautiful, calming, relaxing oil. It's really, really good for resetting your nervous system, just like coming back into your body. If there's any like daily stresses, like being, it's there to support you in all of the emotions that come up in that way. And then, oh, Probably go third oil is Valor. So Valor is another blend. It's actually what I use in my DIY face oil. So I make my own face oil just so that, one, I know what's in it, and two, it costs me way less than buying the one that I used to buy, which I think was like $70 for 30 mils. And it's like, I just now make it, and it's like so easy, so cheap, takes me 2 minutes. And I put the Valor in there because it's got frankincense, geranium, blue tansy, which is like this incredible like deep blue color, and a couple of other oils. So I love that because it loves my skin, but it's also an incredible oil for courage and confidence. So really amazing if you ever have like any hard conversations, if you're ever doing something that makes you feel really nervous, really anxious, and you just need to like really settle those feelings, that feeling that you get in your tummy. Really, really amazing for that. So emotional support. That's the top three right now in this moment. But like ask me in another 5 minutes, it'll be another three. But yeah, I love them. It's just literally it's our life. We live and breathe them now because I've really delved into how much support they can give us in literally every area of our life. When they are therapeutic, pure essential oils, they can, as I touched on earlier. When they're not, then you're not going to receive those therapeutic benefits from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, love my oils so much.
I think, is there I'm gonna probably butcher the name of it, but there is a Young Living oil I just love. Is it Dragon Time? Is that
Dragon Time, yeah. So that's
that oil?
for like when you're menstruating, like that's an
Of course.
incredible, yeah. When and using it on your womb space, it's a really beautiful oil. I actually can't label off the top of my head what's in that, but yeah, an incredible oil for supporting all of the things during that time. Yeah.
I remember before doing a breathwork and cacao ceremony, I did put some on my womb, and it was like one of the most profound ceremonies that I had been held in, but like before I released so much just like toxic energy, energy that was like just trapped there. And I don't know, I just love that oil so much. So
That's
glad I
so
didn't butcher
cool.
the name.
Oh, that's so cool. And that's what I love. Like I love that you can, and that's why I originally started using oils, like was the breath work and the meditation and everything. And that's I kind of came into using essential oils with like the mindset that they were just something that smelt good and sort of,
Yeah.
just gave you a little bit of something. But I didn't actually realize that there's it's so broad in what they can and can help you with. Yeah, that's so cool that you had that experience.
Yes. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom around this and sharing the power of essential oils. It has been such an amazing conversation. I would love for you to let everyone know where they can find you so they can go and get their oils if they need any tips. Like your Instagram is so slay. You upload such incredible reels. I literally all the time I'm like, every time you upload something new, I'm like, oh my God, another thing. Like it's just so good. And you inspire me so much for when I do become a mum. I know I've told you this a million
Oh,
times, but
thank
where can
you.
everyone find you?
So you can find me over at BesideGaia, so beside GAIA. And yeah, just send me a message because I really love to, and I really think it's really important that if you are wanting to delve into low toxic and essential oils, that we actually chat about where you're at and chat about what you need. You can just begin and dive into it on yourself, but that's what I'm here for. I literally walk alongside people when they're taking their homes and their lives low tox. So definitely always send me a message. My inbox is always open. I love connecting and chatting about this. It's my life as well as being a mom and a partner and all the other things. But yeah, it's our lifestyle and I love it. So yeah, we'd be more than happy to chat further on it with anyone who's listening.
You are the woman to go to. I love it.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you everyone who's been listening. I love and appreciate you so much for listening. I will be back in your ears next Thursday at 5:55 a.m. Goodbye.
Bye.